and helpful videos about this plane have been uploaded, and for good reason. It's a great. It just really is a brilliant design. It's pretty easy to fold, but there is a lot. There is a lot you can do to make this plane right, because, as stated by Jayson Merill himself, there are a lot of people that fold this wrong, and it's a tragedy, really, because this is a really good design, like I said, and when you fold it right, it is incredibly capable as well. Not only does it look great, but it flies great. And this design is from Jayson Merrill's book, Origami Aircraft. As a younger child and to this day, this is a treasure of mine because Jayson Merrill's designs are unique. They almost always look the part and perform the part. So one of the great things about this Diamondback design is you don't need some fancy 20 GSM paper that you have to order online. You can fold this with a simple sheet of printer paper cut into a square. So I just wanted to make this video about some techniques I've learned to get this folded just right and to get it positioned right and flying as good as it can, because it really is a great design and it has a lot of capability. So here we have our square, and like I said, this is just a square cut from a sheet of US letter paper. You know, it's pretty accessible. So like with most origami, start off by folding the diagonal. So one of the things you can do to make this design really shine is just take care of your precision, because one fold out of place leads to another fold out of place and then another. So precision really is a big part of it. So here's our diagonal fold. The next thing you need to do is fold this tip to this tip. I like to just kind of roll this a bit to prevent wrinkling and bubbling. Again, just match up these corners to the best of your ability and make sure this comes to a point over here. So our next step is we have this paper with 2 points over here and 1 point over here. We want this point to come to the corner and match up along this edge. However, to deal with the thickness of the paper later on, we want it about maybe 1 millimeter or 2 from the tip of this. So don't fold it quite to the edge. And again, one of the best things you can do to get this model performing the best is just grease your paper down as hard as you can. Now, flip the paper over and match this fold on the back. Make sure it lines up with the back edge as good as possible. Like that. Same with this side. Okay, so now we can open this paper back up and flatten out these creases a bit. The next thing we need to do is fold this edge onto the middle crease. So just fold along this line, keep it as tight as you can up to that line. You can hear the paper crunching under there, just falling into place. Just sort of roll it back as far as it'll go. Up here and also up here. So we have about a millimeter gap right here, just to deal with the thickness of the paper later on, and then just match the fold on this side. So something that you can do to keep your folds even on either side is to fold the model in half and match them up. Make sure that they're lined up perfectly. So the next thing you need to do is make a crease across here halfway down this line, and you do that by bringing this point to this intersection. However, as you curl this point over, the edges of this paper will push out. You can see them moving along. So what you need to do to keep precision is to hold these as tightly as possible, and something that really helps prevent wrinkling and all that is just rolling with your fingers this edge right along where the crease is going to be, and then holding this down, bring it right where it needs to be, and then just press it. An extra thing is there's only so much pressure you can apply with your finger or your nail, so it helps to have a separate tool or something, whatever that might be. You can use anything that just has a sort of rounded edge, and just really press the paper down. So this helps a lot. Anything that has a rounded edge that is rigid. I mean, you can see how much flatter this is. So unfold that, and we want to repeat the same thing with a crease from here to here. So bring this point down to here. And fold. So this is another fold coming up next that, if you're not careful, can push a lot of paper in the wrong direction. So what we need to do is bring this edge to the center crease. However, as you push this edge over, this paper moves out of place. So like in the last step, you want to hold the paper in place and just roll it along this edge. Just roll your finger in there and move it into position. And it doesn't have to come right up to the crease. You can leave it a little bit just so that nothing's intersecting. And again, whatever you have on hand to just flatten that paper some more. So repeat on the other side. Hold this paper in place, roll this, and move it up to its position. And then at the tip here, just make sure that nothing is folded over anything else, so we still have nice continuity with this line. So all of this is flattened out and ready for the next step. Now, folding the wings out is a pretty easy step with nice guidelines. So we want to make a fold from this point all the way out to this point. So what you do is, what I like to do is use my thumb to make a stop right there to start the crease, and then start rolling it out and bring this crease all the way to the bottom edge, just almost, just the slightest bit away from all the way out to prevent a tear. And then just hold this in place and flatten everything down once again. Just repeat this on the other wing. And we're ready for the next step. So with everything flattened down as much as you can get it, we will fold these edges out along this line and just hold this in place and push it as far up as it goes along that line. And the paper will start getting quite thick here, but it's still an easy fold to manage. So mirror that on the other side, push it as far up to that point as you can get it, and push it down as far as you can. Then this next fold is pretty simple. Just fold this, bisect this flap. Just make sure that this edge doesn't overlap this edge. Same on this side. Just like that. So the next step is a jet fold, which I will get into just a minute, but first I want to make a guideline that I think is helpful to some people when folding the tail. So later on, this flap will be inside reverse folded out to make the tail, but there's a mark you can make that will help you make that fold more accurate. So what you want to do is just don't fold this down, but just move it up to here, where there's a point here and point there, and just mark a small line right there. And that will come in handy here in a little bit. And just flatten everything out. So now we will begin the jet fold. You basically need to just make a crease all along this ridge, which is pretty easy because everything's sort of lined up perfectly by now. So just crease it along here, and the tip for this step is I like to push my thumb right up along this crevice here to make sure that it's going all the way up into the front end of this fold. So we just want to make sure that everything tucks in underneath the fold like that. And just bring it where it needs to be. Now this back end should pretty much be as much of a point as you can get it. A little tiny bit of overlap shouldn't be a problem. So just press everything down again as much as you can. It really helps having strong creases. And this section is a little thinner than this section, so you can press it a little more. It might look a tiny bit uneven, but it's not that big a deal. Okay, so what we want to do next is fold up this wing here, right along this line. Just like this. Careful not to pull this too much and rip it. So just start the crease there, make sure it's not too far up, and follow the crease along this front end as much as you can. Just press it down like that. As much as you can. So once you fold the other side, just make sure it mirrors that side as precisely as you can get it, like that. And now we will start making the tail, and this mark will come in handy. So we essentially want to make a line going from this point straight out to this edge right here. So just pick the paper up here and put your finger along this crease, and you can start to kind of pull this paper out and start to form this into a tail shape. Now we want to bring it right up to that mark, or a little bit before it. So right about there. And then we can start to make our crease running from there to this point over here. So just with your thumb in here, just start forming that crease and form it all the way up to this back point right here. Like that. And then once that crease is formed, you can pretty easily match it on this side by just sort of closing the model in like this and then pulling up on the back end like this. And now the goal is to fold this flap out so that it is completely on a straight line with this other edge. You can do that by eye, but the mark, if you're just making this plane for like the first time, mark helps you just get it lined up a little easier. So what we need to do next is inside reverse fold this down to make the twin tail fins. But a mistake that is made, which isn't the biggest deal, but it flies a bit better when you make it right. A mistake I see is inside reverse folding at the very top of this fuselage section. It's not the biggest deal, but it really is better if the inside reverse fold goes straight down into that fold right there. So what you can do is, holding the fuselage open a bit, just put your finger along at the front end of that crease and just making a mountain fold here and bringing this crease to here. So just bring that right there. And then meanwhile on this side we are creasing this just like that. So form this crease kind of lightly until we've got everything positioned. Now mirroring that crease on this side is pretty easy because you just put your finger once again inside the model and get that paper pushed up a bit, and then you can just close it and it matches up automatically. So just bring it right up to the edge right there and just match it up. Just like that. And so now we have this inside reverse fold going straight into the heart of the model like that. And everything's matched up nicely. So the next thing we want to do is just fold this inside along the center crease. So it's a little hard to see on this because of my lighting setup. So I will make a mark on the crease line right here. So just bring this fold in like that, and the goal is, like on this model right here, to create a third side of this triangle of the tail fin right here. So essentially just bring it in along that line and then stop when it gets to about the angle you like here. I like it about there, but can change it up a little bit, just not too much. This is about a good space. You can also fold it all the way in, but I'll show you why that's not quite as good here in a bit. So once you folded that, you can close this back up like that, and then crease it fully. So that's the tail fin. Now the next part is locking the plane. So we don't want our plane just flying around like this. We want it to be nice and tidy. So what you do is fold this edge up to the bottom of the fuselage and just be careful to leave a tiny bit of space right here at the end so that it's not pulling too hard on this edge of paper and ripping it. So with the wings out of the way, just bring it up to that edge. Okay, so now just fold this edge back down to the bottom edge of the crease we just made. Like that. Now we will begin to start folding this keel into the bottom of the plane. So open this up like this and fold this edge straight to the top of the fuselage. So fold it right in there and push it as far as it'll go, like that. See? Tucked right up in there. And then just bring this crease all the way out as far to that point as you can get it. And crease that, and the last step of the keel is to open the other side like this and fold this edge straight into the fuselage. You can fold this, you can leave a little bit of extra paper out if you'd like. It's more up to preference how much keel you'd like to grab onto. This is just the way I've kind of become accustomed to folding it. This is one of the few steps that you can have a little bit of fun, like messing around with just how much extra paper you want down here. Okay, so model is done, but now we must tweak it a lot. So this model, you have to fold out these tail fins a bit, but essentially this is all the folding we need to do. But to get it to fly right and to get the design to look the best, we need these wings to be as flat as they can get, and also at a 90-degree angle, perpendicular to the fuselage, just completely flat, and then have these tail fins pointing out at about 60-degree angles. So if you look at a freshly folded model, these wings are just way curved and the paper is warped. So folding this with printer paper, there is some tweaking you need to do. So the first thing you can do is to just, if you see the paper curving here, just give it some extra paper to work with. So what we want to do is roll this paper in a little bit. Just hold this here. Just roll it like that. Just give it some slack. And already that's straightened it up a bit. It's not quite there, but compared to the other side, it's quite a bit better. So essentially what we want to do to get the wing to remain straight and remain in place is to roll the edge of this a tiny bit forward while curving it a bit like this. So it's sort of this motion. So just grabbing the edge of the wing like this, just folding it out like that. Now you don't want it curving up all crazy, but you can already see the wing is starting to resemble a much nicer shape, like that, compared to even the other side on the same plane. You can see it's curved and warped. So just with that little bit of tweaking, just continue to sort of roll it up like this to prevent that paper pulling it down, like that. So now just do the same thing on this wing. So I've adjusted both of the wings, so they should be just like that. Now the keel, just try to make sure that it's pointing straight down as much as you can get it, like that. And these tail fins, like I said earlier, need to be about 60 degrees off from the wing. So they'll kind of naturally go in that orientation. Now, when we were folding this point in at the back of the tail fins, I was saying that there was an advantage, and there is an advantage because a lot of the maneuverability of this plane comes from these tail fins, and so by having this little extra edge there, not only does it look a bit better, but you can also, folding these down, you can get a little bit of a flat edge there and sort of make a little bit of elevator. This isn't super necessary, but it's just nice to have that option, and also, you know, it looks better. So this is pretty much as complete as you can get it. Just make sure when you're flying it, for the best results, keep this arrangement exactly how it is, and it will legitimately fly 100 feet. You know, that's no joke. It will fly that far under good conditions with a good throw. Like I said, this is a very, very capable plane, but there are a lot of things you can do wrong when folding it. It's not, it appears like a pretty simple fold, but it's easily misfolded. And like with a real airplane, it can't just be any shape. It needs to be a specific shape to fly to the best of its capabilities. So I hope that cleared up some troubles you might have when folding it with, just printer paper, because it really is available everywhere. Everyone has it in their house, you know. Even if you don't, you can just buy it from the store. You just trim it into a square, and you got a great plane. You just need to fold it right, and you can make it out of a 6-inch paper like that you can get at the hobby store or online or something. But this is kind of finicky, and it doesn't fly as good as a bigger version. So, I mean, it does, but it's harder to tweak it just right. So, a fun thing that you can do is to print out like different designs on paper, and then just fold planes with that paper, and then you don't have to order online these patterns or try to find them at some hobby store. You can really just print whatever design you want, and you can make this Diamondback jet. So yeah, I hope that was helpful for anyone that wanted to fold this plane and get it flying just right. There are a lot of variations to this that I will link in the pinned comment that Jayson Merill himself has uploaded, like this version with landing gear, and this version with missile racks and landing gear. So yeah, I hope it was helpful, and thank you for watching.